You guys are just like super annoying. Like, holy God. Please do. For everyone. Okay! So this morning we were talking about leadership stuff, iGIP, very theoretical, that kind of stuff, right? It's going to get more operational now. So we're talking about matching, talking about re-raising, and talking about planning. Those are the things we're going to talk about for the rest of the afternoon. So it's more like iGIP focused, more operational. So this session is about matching. It'll also, I think, be a little bit faster. Okay. So first thing, do you think you guys have a problem in matching? So this is what I'm interested in. Let's say ISEC in Belgium. What is your TN matching rate? What do you guys think? Rafa, don't answer. Throw out a guess. You don't know, so like you can't think about it more. So, what do you think it might be? Yeah, percentage. Yeah. What percent of TNs you raise get matched? 60. How much? 30. 45. Okay. So actually, it's 75%. Bam. Now, question: who do you think is matching those?
MC.
So, if it's just the LCs, I don't know what that percentage is, but maybe closer to what you were thinking. Maybe not 75%, but you have a very good MC that's in matching. Netherlands, what do you guys think? What do you think your matching rate is?
65 or something.
65. 60. Well, where do you get that number from? Has anyone told you?
Yeah, I think we discussed it with the iGIP summit.
Okay, so I don't know exactly how they measured it. The way I measure matching rate, which is what percent of your raises become matches, is 52%. Think about how much that sucks. How hard is it to raise a TN? How much effort do you put into raising a TN? And only half of them even get matched. And I'll tell you, match to realization rate is not 100% either. So even less get realized. Question?
Now, how does it work in Belgium that the MC matches people?
No, the MC does a lot of iGIP in Belgium. So it's not that they're matching people's TNs necessarily, it's that a lot of the TNs that we're measuring when we say TN matching rate are managed by the MC.
Okay.
It's the MC's accounts. Yeah, most of iGIP in Belgium is still by the MC. But you guys are going to change all that. You better. Germany.
54.
54. That's a specific number. Did you get it from somewhere? Did someone tell you or it's just a guess? Okay. Any other guesses? Germany's TN matching rate? 50. It's 46 by my calculations. But what's interesting is at the beginning of my term, I remember talking to Anita about your TN matching rate as well as your re-raising rate. Neither one is very strong, even though Germany does a lot of iGIP, especially for WINA. Germany is like really big in iGIP for WINA. And it hasn't improved that much. And I know she's working really hard on it. She's doing, I think, I really like Anita, and I think she's doing great work. But we need that matching rate from Germany. And France, thoughts on what your TN matching rate is?
60.
Lou, any thought on what France's TN matching rate is?
Not high.
Not high. Not high indeed, 39%. The average globally is 46%. Okay, so that's to give you some context. There's a few entities that are very good at matching. Belgium, but obviously a lot of that is by the MC. Canada has a very high TN matching rate. So there are some entities we can look up to. So that's the number is not very encouraging, right? Because as I said, think of how much work goes into the TN raising, and then those don't get matched, and those don't all, even the ones that get matched don't all get realized. Only about 80% globally get realized that are matched. So when you add up all the percentages, it's like, wow, we really don't realize as much as we could. Question: how does that impact our customers? So as you guys might know, I'm responsible along with one other person. Can we leave it as it is because it's already recording? So then we'd have like 2 videos.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. It'll be a short session. Yeah. So our customers, as you might know, I'm responsible for customer loyalty for organizations on AI. So what we've done is the 100 Days Challenge. We got a lot of feedback from customers trying to push re-raising this year. This is what we learned from our customers. We have an NPS score with our customers of 13, which is really, really low. It basically means that for every promoter, there's a detractor, right? So like when we realize a TN, it's almost as likely that the company doesn't like ISEC at the end as does like ISEC. When they do like ISEC, this is the promoters, when they really do like ISEC, what do they point to? Professional skills of the trainee, the professionalism of ISEC, the level of the trainee's motivation, personal skills of training, communication with ISEC, selection process. It's very obvious. What's most important to them is that the trainee fulfills their job and is a good trainee. That's the product they bought, right? So what's most important to them is that. It's also really important to them that iSec does our job well. So when we deliver a good product and we deliver it well, company's happy. Makes a lot of sense, okay? What about when companies are unhappy? So this is looking at our passives and detractors. So this is passives. So passives most recommend we improve. This is like what do you want us to improve? Not what do you like, but what do you want us to improve? Passives most think we should improve our selection process, the visa documents, and the communication. And the detractors say the selection process, the communication, and then they have professional skills of the trainee. So what conclusion can we draw from this? Promoters really like our product, as well as they want us to deliver it well. What is it that makes people detractors? It's pretty simple. Huh?
Selection process?
Basically us not doing our jobs very well, right? When people don't like iSec, it's generally not because of the trainee. It's generally because iSec wasn't managing the account very well or handling the matching process very well, right? So just to make sure that this is crystal clear, our selection process is our number one detractor issue. That's why we're talking about matching and the matching process here. So the question we need to answer is how can we match more and match faster to satisfy our customers? So this is exactly the question that at the CLO Summit, Rafa and 10 other people tried to answer. Not just this question, but some other questions. Well, we basically came up with 3 solutions, and one of them is how can we match more and faster to make the company satisfied with the EP they're going to get and satisfied with the process that they've gone through with iSec. And we came up with an ideal 6-week matching plan, how you would do a match in 6 weeks. I don't think the content I'm giving you here is revolutionary. I'm just going to go through the matching process with you, but hopefully it makes things clear, okay? So this is the steps of the matching process. If you have a process and you want it to be run very well, it's super important you break it down in its different components, right? So it starts with we sign a contract in which we understand what the company really needs so that we're able to match it, right? So in the JQ, if you guys use JQs, or in the TN form, you need to know what the company really wants to find. Then you promote the TN globally, people apply, you screen the EPs, you interview the EPs to see who you want to send to the company, like if they're any good, if the things they put on their CV are true, stuff like that. Then you shortlist those candidates, send them to the company. How many you send varies on the company and what they want. We'll talk about that a little bit. The company interviews them. If the company finds people they want, they match. If the company doesn't find people they want, either they stop, so they're out of the process, or they go back and they want to do it again, right? And I don't know how your countries work, if you charge them more, if there's a maximum number of times they can go back or anything like that, but that's a process that companies go through. This is what your matching process looks like. And the question is, how do we do it as fast as possible, as professionally as possible, and get them a trainee they want? So what we did is we broke every one of these steps down into 2 halves. One half, what does iSec do? And the other half, what does the company see? So from a company's perspective, how does the process work? And from our perspective, what are we doing behind the scenes? So for example, with step one, the JQ signing, or the contract signing with the company, that's everything is together with the company. And what we have in this PowerPoint presentation is all of the things that have to happen in that step of the process. So for example, we have to communicate expectations with the company in the contract signing. We should set dates for all meetings and steps that are going to lead to the match. So you should take them through the next 6 steps and say, so this should happen at this time, this should happen at this time, this should happen at this time. Let's set those meetings, let's set that one, let's set that one. Agree on a channel of communication. So if I email you, is that okay? Would you prefer phone? Like if you have any questions, you can call me here, right? Set expectations for the visa timeline. Okay, so you said you wanted people from this country and this country and this country. Based on our data from the past, when we have people from this country, it takes this long. People from this country take this long. That if you set this expectation in the beginning, it's going to help them make a good decision for what they want. They're going to say, well, we could take that EP, but it'll take 3 months for the visa, or we could take that EP and it only takes 1 month for the visa. It helps them make a good decision in who they want. And also, if the visa timeline takes a long time, they're not as mad at you because you told them up front. And you need to assess the company's shortlist expectations. So this is companies very much fit in like 2 categories on this. Do they want iSec to find the talent for them, or do they just want iSec to bring them a lot of candidates that they can choose? And really, companies want different things here. Some companies want iSec to bring them 50 CVs, and they'll look through them and pick the candidate they want. Other people say, I want you to bring me 3 CVs, just 3. I don't want a lot, just 3 CVs of who you think is the best, and then I'll choose. Maybe you've seen companies ask for different things in your own experience. So if you're bringing the people, if you don't know what they want, then that's when people are dissatisfied, right? They're like, well, you only brought me 3 CVs. Like, that's not what I was promised, you know? Or, well, why am I hiring you guys? All you do is bring me 50 resumes, and then I have to do all the work. you know? So you have to know what they want. Within step 1 also, behind the scenes, we're understanding the company's need in terms of sub-products. So the company is saying, we need someone to help us with this, we need someone to help us with this. We need to understand, what am I recruiting for in the global network, right? That means I need a marketing TN, and those are from this country, and I should promote it this way, right? And yeah, you have to understand your global supply, right? And based on that global supply, you set expectations with the company in the contract signing. So you set expectations based on the spot. Okay, you say you want this from that country, that's too difficult. So if you want that, like, then I'm not sure we can deliver it. Let's expand the scope this way or something, or let's make this less specific, or let's decrease that requirement. Yeah, and for example, you can show them the sample CVs in the system to make sure you have clear what they want. So it's an EP like this or something like that, right? So that's step 1. Step 2. Okay, so now you're in the part of the process that ISEC is doing. Now this is really important that you show the company this is what your process looks like. They don't need to know every detail, right? But they need to know that you're working on something. Because you disappear for 2 weeks, 3 weeks to do this process because it doesn't involve them. The TN promotion, the EP screening, you don't need the company for that. But if you just fall off the face of the earth for 3 weeks and you're supposedly looking for a candidate, if I'm paying a bunch of kids to do something and I don't know what they're doing and they just disappear for 3 or 4 weeks, I get suspicious, right? And already I might not think you're bad, but I'm not satisfied, right? So I want to see from the beginning, when you show me the process, I want to see that, yeah, over the next 3 or 4 weeks, this is what we're doing for you. We'll be in touch with you at the end. If you ever want to check in with us, we'll do this or whatever, right? So in step 2, yeah, so we need to make the TN available. We need to promote it. We need to contact any target countries that are necessary for the TN form. And we need to contact available EPs, which we can find through the AFT and which we can find through mysec.net. You might know, I hope you know, in mysec.net, any TN form you raise, you can see who are the most matchable EPs for that TN form. Is everyone aware of that? Who's aware of that? Some people are aware of that? So yes, if you look in the BI strategic meeting output on mysec.net, you can see exactly how to do it. There's an analysis menu. When you're a TN manager, there's an analysis menu that you can click, and there's a drop down, and you can see, it'll give you a list, I think, of 10 EPs who are the most matchable with your TN form. And then you can like that EP directly. So you can click a thing, and they get a notification that you want to talk to them and that they should apply for your TN. And then they can ask you questions through mysec.net. They can click Ask a Question, and you'll get a notification that they have questions. Or they can apply to the TN through mysec.net, click Apply to the TN. And if they click Apply to the TN, you can accept them through mysec.net, and they're automatically matched. So, yeah, this is the systems that we make for you guys. Use them.
Again, where can you find it?
So if you want to find all the instructions for this, I mean, my main recommendation would just be to talk to your MC. Like, they should be able to explain to you everything in detail how it works. If for whatever reason your MC is not able to, but I'm sure they're able to, you can go to mysec.net and just look in you can look through the BI strategic meeting output. So like business intelligence strategic meeting output, just type that and you'll find everything you need. There's a lot of education materials on it, like a lot that have been released to the network. So if you search for it, you'll definitely find it. Yeah. Anyway, makes matching a lot easier. Anyway, but you're doing all of that, right? So who's used the AFT? Anyone? Who's used the AFT? I make the AFT every month. It's like my least favorite thing in life, so you're welcome. But through the AFT, you can see every single available EP in the network. You can filter what you want to search for. So you can say, I want to find marketing EPs from Argentina with an academic background in biology, and you'll see if there's any EPs. There's not, but you can see if there are. In step 3, which is the EP screening. So this is assuming that you're screening EPs before you shortlist them to the company, right? So you collect the CVs of EPs that have applied to your TN through mysec.net or through email. You analyze the CVs, select the candidates according to the criteria the company gave you, which means you need to have had a good JQ in the first place, right? You need to understand what the company needs. You approve or reject candidates. The candidates that you think might be good, you can interview them. So you set up an interview with them just to make sure that, like, if they said they could speak English, they really can speak English. If they said that they studied this, they really did study that, stuff like that. Then you go through the interview. So you arrange the interview, prepare the interview according to the company's needs. You do the interview, reject or approve candidates based on how good their interview is, and then you can send the packages of the CVs for the EPs that you want the company to interview to the company. See, it's still just ISEC, right? What's your question?
Question. So you would recommend to interview the candidate first yourself, because right now we are not doing this.
TN managers from Europe, what do you guys think? Yeah?
Well, we didn't do it
either, but I think it's like a really good opportunity to really check if you can really speak the language. Because we had a lot of companies who were like, he told us that he speaks English, and we try to talk English to him, and the first 2 sentences didn't even work. It's like really.
Raphael, do you have a thought on this? So the question is, before they send a short list of EPs to the company, would you recommend that they've interviewed the EPs to make sure that they're good EPs?
Depends on the number of people that are applying for the TN. Usually in the MC Lab of Belgium, we are not interviewing the EPs, we just check their CVs and their references. And worst case scenario, just check with the companies that they worked before, like to see if they're really good, then we send the CVs to the company. For us, the good thing of the MC, the delivery time of our shortlist and our matching time, is because we don't do these 1 week interviews. But like for some smaller LCs that you have like 5 or 15 people applying for the TN, doesn't take that much time, so I would recommend.
I would add 2 things to that. I think it depends somewhat on the sub-product you're dealing with, as well as on what the company's looking for. For example, if the company's looking for people that are flexible and open-minded, then that's something you might want to assess before you send a CV to the company as a shortlist, right? And you can assess that through a short interview, right? Or, I mean, this doesn't apply to you, but if you're handling the teaching sub-product, yeah, you have to interview that person before you send them to the company just to make sure that they really can speak the language they're supposed to be teaching or something like that, right? Because it's just embarrassing if there's a company interview and that's messed up. If it's an IT sub-product, then you might not want to use an interview, you might want to use more some sort of online tool or assessment, right? So some exam they can take or something, which you can make partnerships for, and a lot of countries have those partnerships, to assess that they really have these skills or they have this level of understanding or something, right? So it depends, what you need to do depends maybe on the sub-product, but the point is, when you bring a CV to the company as a shortlist, if that doesn't represent what the company wants, you're creating a dissatisfied customer, right? And notice, this is still all ISEC, and we're at day 25. And this is assuming you're doing the process very efficiently, right? So from day 1 to day 25, we haven't really involved the company. So they need to know that, and they probably need to hear from you that you're making progress, right? Yeah, so just wanted to check in with you. We've just done this. We'll see you next week like we said we would, right? Because otherwise you've just disappeared. So step 5, you've shortlisted the candidates. Behind the scenes, we need to make sure the EP understands the process and the timeline. And this is important. We can set timelines with the company and with the EP in advance. So you don't always have to be, a lot of the time what we do is so when are you available for an interview? Okay, when are you available for an interview? And the company will give us feedback, but we don't know when the company gives us feedback, so just sit tight and wait. But they can't sit tight and wait. They're applying for TNs for their life, right? So you should set in advance with the company, yeah, you need to get feedback within 3 days of the CVs, right? Or within 3 days of the interview. And with the EP, yeah, you'll get feedback within 3 days. And with the EP, when they apply, yeah, your interview is going to be on this day at this time. Once we send the CV to the company, if the company doesn't like it, we'll cancel your interview. But if they do like it, that's when your interview is, right? You can set these things in advance so that it's not slowing you down. Yeah, of course you need to check whether the candidates align with other companies' needs. So that refers to the personality kinds of things or the other things that might be important to them. From the company, you share the shortlist with them, highlight the candidates that you recommend, emphasize timeline with them, make sure that they are following your timeline that you're setting with the EPs, and yeah, you reject EPs who don't pass the interview in the company shortlist, right? Step 6, the company interview. So behind the scenes, you've gotten the EP's acceptance note. You have to make sure the interview times are super clear for the candidates, and once again, that can be communicated in advance. This is the time of your interview. Or, these are 3 times for your interview. Which one do you want? Cool. Okay, we'll notify you 3 days in advance if that interview is canceled or if it's happening. This is a cool step. You can send information about the company to the EP to make sure the EP is able to have a successful interview, right? Because in the end, you want the realization to happen, right? So you can say, so this is some information about the company. They care about this, so this is what you can do. Yeah, and of course, you need to communicate the result with them. With the company, check if they need any help with the interview, help them prepare for it, remind them of the interview time so that things don't get messed up. Yeah, get the result and then get the acceptance notes aligned so that you can match the system on mysite.net. And if all that happens, then you have a match, right? And it's been 6 weeks. So that's the average matching time in the network is 100 days. Which, imagine you're a company. So most of you have gone through a raising process, I imagine, or a TN raising process. How long for you does the TN raising process usually happen? From the first time you contact a company to when a TN is raised on the system? How long do you think? in your experience? It's not a right answer. It's just like in your experience.
Really depends, I think 1 or 2 months.
1 or 2 months for you? Anyone else? It's just a question. Like, how long does it usually take in your experience to raise a TN on the system? Raphael, how long do you see it take for LCs in Belgium? From like meeting to
like 4 months to raise for the first meeting, on average. With like some other LCs, they have a bigger, like a smaller delivery time from the first meeting to the raise. But on average, we're around 4 months.
average of 4 months? I mean, I would say in my experience, yeah, at least 2 months. Like 2 months would be like the fastest it would go. So if you imagine you
TN or max TN?
to raise a TN, I'm talking about raising a TN from the first meeting to when it's raised on the system. In when I was leading, like it was about 2 months often. Is it faster for you guys?
To raise the TN.
Yeah, from the first meeting to raising the TN.
1 week.
1 week.
Just a raising.
Yeah.
This is raise and match.
No. I'm honestly just talking about raising. I'm honestly just talking about raising. So, guys, sorry. Hello. Yeah, so, I mean, in my experience, there'd be different levels of decision making you had to go through, and you have to bring them proposals, and you have to bring them, like, example of supply and stuff like that. And you can make it much faster. It's great that you can do it in a week. I'd be interested in what impact that has on your matching rate, but that's just a question about that. But, so, it takes however long it takes to get the raise. Then it takes, on average, 100 days for the match. From match to realize, depends on your visa timeline, but it takes usually at least a month, like minimum, usually much longer. So imagine you're a company, and 7 months ago you needed talent, and now you receive something. Like, if expectations have been set with you, and like you don't have a really positive view of ISEC because they've worked with you very professional, you might be disappointed in that, and then you'd be a detractor because you see the selection process takes too long, and we don't get consistent communication about what's going on with ISEC, which is what our customers are saying, right? Okay, so question, similar to how we track raising, how can we track the matching process? And this is really hard because for the LC VPs, like your members are matching, so I mean, how do you track that matching process, right? Like your members who are responsible for matching, like, yeah, we're trying to match it. Like, oh, okay. I don't know. Of course you are. Like, what advice can you really give them when they're in the matching process? For me, it was difficult to be like, well, this is what you should do this week because it's like they're just in the matching process. So you have to break that process down, right? So you can break down you can track your matching process this way. So let's say you have every TN that is available that you're trying to match. You have every step, 1 through 7, and you can track what step is the TN in at this moment. So those are the X's, right? So what stages has it been through? And the O's are what stage is it supposed to be at, right? So this allows you to easily see what parts of your process are you doing well, what parts of your process are you not doing well, and where are you getting slowed down, right? So and then you can also, behind this, look at who's managing these accounts and what are they doing well or not well, right? So if you imagine, say you're a larger scale LC that has 25 TNs, which means you probably have, 6, 8 account managers or so who are trying to do matching, then you might divide this as like the first 3 TNs are all like Andrew's TNs, and the next 3 TNs are all Andy's TNs, the same person, John's TNs. And the next 3 are Steve's TNs, right? So then you can see for each of your matchers what are the things that they're doing well and how far behind the timeline are they? Are they ahead of the timeline, etc. Does it make sense? Yeah? And then you can see, as a team, what are we doing well in the matching process? What do we have to improve? And you can really dig into your processes as a VP and say, okay, so for some reason the interview with the company is always taking us much longer than it should, so we need to make that time faster. Because then the company will be more satisfied, as well as we're more likely to match with that EP, because if you have the EP go through the interview process for a really long time, they match to another TN or something, and then you have a really big problem on your hands, right? So this is how I think you can track your matching process. Does this seem useful if you were to use this? Yeah, question?
How many members should have how many TNs, or how many TNs should have a member?
That's a really good question. So actually there's a little information about that in the next session, but based on what I asked MCVP iGIPs who are at the CLO Summit, people recommended 2 to 3 accounts per person to be matching, and not more than that. And of course it depends on the scale. It can also depend on the subproduct. So for example, it's just logical, common sense, let's say. Like, if there's 5 TNs that are exactly the same JD,
Yes.
then it's not as much, right? Because you really are just matching one TN 5 times, kind of. But if it's like IT, it's very complicated, and they want very different JDs or something, then you really have to invest energy into searching for EPs and like analyzing what their CVs are and blah blah blah. Yeah.
So
And if it's a very big account, then maybe that account needs one account manager, and that's the only thing that person should be doing. Maybe if it's a really big account, it needs 2 or 3 account managers, and that's the only thing they're doing. But a very common mistake, especially for LCs that haven't managed a lot of TNs in the past, a very common mistake is they don't have talent capacity to do matching, and they underestimate how much work it's going to be. Like, I think that's like a story that every person who's been in an LC has lived through, is that they raise a bunch of TNs, and then they completely underestimate how hard it would be to match them. Yes?
So how much would you recommend for? Okay, I only have account managers, so they only do the matching. So how much TNs would you recommend?
How many TNs?
Yeah.
Again, it depends on the complexity of matching those TNs. Excuse me, guys. Sorry.
Like how much around, and if they are.
So let's say it's like average,
Mhm.
like just an average difficulty to match TN or something.
Yeah.
Then I would say like 2 accounts, and if the accounts are more than like 3 TNs, then you would change it to like 1 account. But it depends on some things. How complex is the JD, stuff like that.
Thanks.
Also, how long is the TN might be a factor, because then you have to search for you might have to search more for EPs if it's like 18-month TN or something like that.
Yeah, they're all 12
That's fine.
months. Great.
Other questions about how to track the matching process, or about the matching process in general?
I have a question that actually related more to the raising process.
Yeah.
Because I think it's an essential process that maybe other people are interested in, like getting new ideas, because I think it's very challenging in Belgium right now when you contact companies. And for example, they say, yeah, we're not hiring at the moment, we're structuring, etc., etc. So how do you, as a person who has like kind of a global overview, can get us more knowledge in that field, or how to be innovative in how you approach companies and find solutions for that?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. I think it's just like a whole nother session, or like 2 or 3 sessions, right? The only answer I'll give right now is that, to me, that's the role of your MC. Not to do it, but to give you the right market product strategy. Like, we should sell this product to these companies, and if you contact them through this channel, you're more likely to gain traction, and and help you guys like get into the right networks and stuff like that, so you're able to do that. That's where I think your MC can be very, very helpful for you, which is to, like, we've looked at the market, we've done some research, we've talked to our alumni, we've talked to our board, and we think that these 2 industries are useful to sell GIP in right now. For these 2 industries, you need to emphasize these selling points. You should contact these people because they're the decision makers. Here's the channel you should use to reach them. That kind of stuff. But if your MC is not providing that, then your VP, LC VP, iGIP should do some fast market research. Like, spend a week on it intensely, and then move on and start doing. And I think like just my advice to you guys would be, do not get stuck in market research. Like, if you don't know at all what your market is, and so you have no idea how to attack it, like, do it intensely for a week, max 2, and then select the market product strategy. Market product strategy means we're selling this product to this industry. Select one and go. Because otherwise you'll just keep thinking forever. Any other questions about the matching process? Cool. Yes.
Just a question. Does that make sense? Like, let's say, for instance, I raised 10 TNs, but it's too much for me actually to match them because I'm all alone. So that I'm gonna split the work, obviously, but then we're afraid of losing the right description of the TNs. Like, I attend the meeting, I know what the company really needed, what they expressed. Of course, we have the GQ, but still, I know what they really want to have. Then, giving this account to someone who didn't attend the meeting, it's kind of like I lose some information maybe in the process. Or
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think actually the very next session is exactly about account management and how to do that. So I think we should just go to that. Yeah? Cool. So that's that for this session. Thank you so much for lending your computer for the